everybody. Today we're talking about the ABRSM Grade 1 solo, The Soldier's Return. It's written for tuned percussion, and as we all know, tuned percussion are all the instruments, the percussion instruments that have pitch, just like a piano. So that includes the xylophone that you're looking at here, the glockenspiel that's made out of metal, the vibraphone that's made out of metal, the marimba made out of wood, tubular bells count, crotales. But today we're going to play on the xylophone, I think because it really lends itself to the piece we're playing, and B, this is probably most likely what you have in your school or at home. All right? Now, the first thing I do when I take a look at a piece is I look at the very beginning and I look at the time signature. That's the first thing I look at. Now, the time signature tells us how many beats and what kind of beats those are going to be. So if we look at the very beginning, we see this. It's a 4/4. So the top number tells us there will be 4 beats in the measure, and the bottom note tells us what kind of beats those will be, what kind of notes. And the 4 stands for a fourth or a quarter. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes in each measure. The next thing I'm going to look at, because we're playing tuned percussion, is what we call the key signature. Now the key signature actually happens just before the time signature, and you'll notice just past the treble clef, this is the treble clef, there's a little note that looks like this, and that's a flat, okay? That tells us that we're going to treat that note as flat every time. Now we see that that little flat note is on the B line. Every good boy deserves fudge, yeah? B, flat. So normally our B would be here. But in this piece, every time we see a B, we're going to play this note, a B flat. All right? If we look at the piece and we listen to it, we sort of can indicate whether or not what key we're in. If we notice at the very end, we finish with D, A, D. So we're probably in D minor based on the key signature there. All right, the next thing I like to take a look at is what the composer has given us. Has the composer given us any indication about how we should feel when we play? Because that's the most important part about music, is communicating a story or a feeling. And if we read what Andrew Smith has said here, right above our first measure, which is a rest, it says march-like. Okay, so it's march-like, not exactly a march, but march-like. So the soldier's return, what he's called it, the soldier's return, also helps us to feel like someone's coming home, and maybe they're marching, but if they're coming home by themselves, maybe they're not marching quite as rigidly as they would be if they were with, 100 other soldiers marching together. So the soldier's return, maybe he's coming home alone. These sort of images are helpful for us making our phrasing and to play with some sort of story behind it, okay? The last thing I like to look at is dynamics. And dynamics, as we've said before, are the volume. This is how strong and how softly we play. Now, if you don't know about dynamics, we do have a video that explains them all, so please go through that. But if you look just below your playing, what we're going to start with is a little P, and P means piano, and that means very, very soft. And very quickly, already in measure 5 and measure 6, we can see these two little lines going up, and that is a crescendo. That means we're going to grow and get louder. And then finally in measure 7, we're mezzo forte, cruising along mezzo forte, and then suddenly in measure 11, we are forte. We are strong. We're going to say that phrase strongly one more time. We're forte all the way until measure 17. Right near the very end, we're going to crescendo down to mezzo piano, and mezzo piano is quietly but confidently, just a little bit more than piano. Now I'm going to go ahead and play through and count out loud for you. I think it's so important to practice counting out loud because it helps solidify what you need to feel inside, that internal pulse. So every time you practice, really practice counting out loud, counting your rests out loud, and understanding where you are in the beat. Now we're going to start this up near where he says march like, he also says quarter note equals 120. And that is 120 beats per minute. It's what we're going to put into our metronome, which is going to help us keep time. I always practice with the metronome because it really helps us internalize that pulse. There's 120, 2, 3, 4, ra-da-da, da-da-da-da, ra-da-da-da-da, right? Marching, march like. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and count the first 2 bars, and then we're going to come in directly on the 3rd bar. You'll notice that you're not playing in the first 2 bars, and that's because the accompaniment will be playing there. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, crescendo. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, rest. Forte. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and make that little decrescendo right at the end, really counting it out loud. Let's do one really a little bit slower because I think that's important. Let's take that down to about 92, and let's try that one more time, okay? Now, I'll also point out that I'm using practice mallets. These are a little softer. This is what a normal xylophone would sound like. But I've got a little bit softer just for my ears. Just a little bit helpful. If you can get some practice mallets, I think it's really beneficial. Here we are, quarter note equals 92. Much, much slower, okay? So here's the first bar, 2, 3, 4, second, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, crescendo, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. Forte. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1 decrescendo. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Now we're going to have one more solo along with the accompaniment where I'll count you in and you can play along using the accompaniment as a guide, and I'll help count through that. And as always, if you are a member of the Percussioner, you have access to the audio files of the accompaniment, it's a hard word to say, the accompaniment, and you can take that and put it on whatever device you want so that you can practice this on your own. I think it's great to practice with the accompaniment if you can. Hope you're having fun. Talk to you later. See ya.
1, 2, 1, 2, ready, play.